Right, good afternoon everyone. The brothers Nield back again to review Manchester United's 3-2 victory away from home at Southampton. A fantastic result for the men in red today. Well, I suppose we were the men in black today, but got to say I like that kit on an aside.
I'm not
nice
against
kit, but let's not digress too far. Not bury the lead. Man United have beaten Southampton 3-2. Matt, what's the hot take?
Hot take is we showed some spine. I mean, we went behind, and we obviously talked about it with the PSV review that when we concede goals, we just had a lack of passion to be all right. Let's get back in this, lads. Today, complete opposite. We went behind, and that seemed to kick the lads into gear. And I think they responded well. I mean, there were a couple moments where they had me biting my nails and thinking, oh God, we're going to throw this away at the last second. But, they held on and they got points, and that's all we can ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched the whole game. I was fortunate enough to have that today. My Sundays are quite wide open like that. And, I mean, the first 15 minutes really worried me just because it wasn't so much that we were playing particularly badly. Southampton had really came out of the blocks strong. And I was looking at them thinking they're going to score. And before they did score, it was coming. And when they eventually went in front, I sort of thought, we haven't managed to, come from behind at all this season. I don't even know if we've scored an equalising goal in the Premier League before today, or if we've scored, outside of that Club Brugge game that we played the first leg at Old Trafford, I don't think we've had a single equaliser after having gone behind until today. So it was good to see that. And, it's sort of become my catchphrase the last few reviews that we've done, especially the ones away from home against Swansea and then away from home against PSV. I was very frustrated, is really the word, with the lack of character in the team, the lack of fighting spirit that even was present last season. So you can't say that it was something that went with Ferguson, because I will admit that we had none of it under Moyes, and that was the main problem with the Moyes regime, was that we had no spine, we had no character, we had no fighting spirit, we had no determination in the team. And when Van Gaal came last season, I just saw it very much came back, even though that our quality wasn't necessarily there, even though our consistency wasn't there. The number of points we saved from losing situations last season, it was like Ferguson was back all over again, in that sense of it. Yeah. And because of that, I was very happy to see that today. But sort of going through the match, blow by blow here, Southampton's first goal. De Gea, we'll talk ad nauseum about David De Gea and how many points he's going to save this season, but he was outstanding again today, just instantly right back in the mix. And he was unlucky to not have any help from his defenders, who were really caught ball watching for that first goal. And just a little point that I wanted, an opinion that I formed in the first half that seemed to be backed up by Van Gaal's substitution at half-time, was that this seems to be the first time all season that the ever-so-reliable Matteo Darmian has been a bit found out. It was his first bad 45 minutes in a Man United shirt, in my opinion. I was still surprised to see him get taken out, but he was getting taken on a merry-go-round by Sadio Mane, and yet he didn't have the pace to keep up. And I just wanted to know if you shared that opinion.
Yeah, no, it was bound to happen sooner or later. I had no illusions that Darmian was going to be putting in. Don't get me wrong, he's put in some absolutely fantastic.
Oh, absolutely, he's been solid.
But I didn't expect him to do it every game through the whole season. I knew he was going to have a bad game eventually, and he's going to have a couple more after this one. I was a little surprised that he got pulled at half time, but the swap made sense to me, bringing on a winger who's got more pace, and Valencia might not be a right back, but he will get stuck in.
Not to interrupt, but Antonio Valencia has been a player that everyone has criticised as he's not a right back. Say what you want, he had a fantastic performance today. Yeah, I left it off with Antonio Valencia had a good performance today, so you can just jump off that whenever you want.
Really at right back is the only place I can see, barring injuries, Valencia getting a shot at the team this year. Maybe unless we, like midweek against Ipswich, might stick him out on the right, over Mata, just because it's Ipswich. But I think he came in. He had a good 45, and I think he's proven that he is going to be a viable option at that right back spot, which is good because the wing backs is somewhere especially with Luke Shaw gone now. Darmian is really the only true wing back we have, which is a problem.
Of course.
So so it's good. It's good that he can play that role and he does get stuck in.
Yeah.
And I think he did well. I think he did fine.
He had a good 45 minutes. I think that it was good tactical decisions from Van Gaal ultimately at the interval, which really swung the game in our favour in the second half. Southampton couldn't get near us for about half an hour before they nodded themselves back in the game with 5 minutes to go. They really couldn't get anywhere near us in the second half, and those alterations, Valencia being the kind of substitution that embodied those alterations, was very well done by Mr. Louis Van Gaal. And but yeah, it's interesting because pre-season when Darmian was bought, we were told that he was going to be a backup to Antonio Valencia, and that was something that us as United fans were sort of thinking, wait, I'm sorry, we've signed a right back to be a backup to someone who's not a right back.
Right.
But Darmian obviously has come in and put those to bed, and he is definitely our number one now. But with the performance that Valencia put in, I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting more opportunities out there. Moving on to sort of later in the game, the first half an hour of the game, to be perfectly honest, I was really worried. I was really concerned. Southampton were playing well. Pell hit the post after he scored, and they had a few chances to go 2-0 up, and I just thought, if we're not careful, if it wasn't for David De Gea, one, and if it wasn't for a bit of luck on our part, we could have been out of the game in that first half. But all credit to Manchester United for doing what I've always said is a characteristic of title winners, is title winners don't play well every week. Title winners don't, pick up points every week, but what they do is they find ways of winning matches. They find ways of winning games like this away at Southampton, of coming back into games when they've not really been offering a lot. We were lumping long balls forward in the 25th minute because we were that isolated when we were trying to play our game out the back. It looked for a minute like Ronald Koeman had us completely sussed out tactically and just was going to play the 90 minutes, on the front foot. But as soon as we got that ball in, full credit to Juan Mata for really kind of making the space. Composed finish from that man again, Anthony Martial.
Yeah, no, great finish from Anthony Martial. I mean, just that little slick little opening body up to the left, a la Thierry Henry. Fooling the centre-back and goalkeeper, thinking he was going to his left, and then putting that nice little turn to leave them both for dead. I mean, it was so calm and composed. You'd think he'd been playing on the grandest stage of them all for years.
He has a really great head on his shoulders.
He does, it's great to see from the young kid. I mean, two matches in the Premier League, 3 goals. I mean, he's already got more goals than Rooney this season. Hate to say it, but it's the truth.
I mean, it's a fact. You can say what you want. He's got more goals than most of the players on our team, but his instant impact is definitely surprising. It's not something that anyone's expected. I would say we all hoped that this is what would happen, but even then, when the second one went in, which let's just cover that while we're on it. What is it about Southampton at that end of the pitch giving us goals? Because anyone who saw the game against between the two teams last season will remember that we had a very similar situation where we weren't playing very well and Southampton were getting the best of us, and a terrible back pass let in Van Persie, who ended up scoring, and that really just changed the game, and we ended up winning that game, which, like I said, a year later, I still have no clue how we managed to win that game. And, I mean, although we were more authoritative, especially in the second half here, based on the first half performance, it was much of the same. The fact that they gave us that second goal really just changed the complex of the game. And well taken by Anthony Martial. You still got to put it in the back of the net, but him getting that set, it's just a dream. It's a dream start for him. And every Man United fan is thrilled for him.
That was Yoshida giving Anthony Martial a welcome to England present. Like, welcome to the country. Here you go, son. Yeah. Just go ahead, stick that one in the net. Yeah. I mean, Ronald Koeman must have been absolutely doing his nut in the second half. I mean, it was like they looked like a completely different team after the half-time.
They didn't wake up till the 85th minute.
Right, and by that point it was thankfully too late.
I mean, was it? I mean, they were. To be fair, David De Gea is the only one that stopped us drawing that game 3-3. And I mean, I'm not saying that we didn't deserve to win, or that. I mean, if that game had finished 3-3, it would have been an absolute train wreck disaster for us. To throw that game away. I thought that the third goal. Let's try and keep it chronological if we can. We kind of jump all over the map when we have these conversations.
Yeah.
The third goal, we've talked about Martial's 2 clinical finishes. Memphis Depay, very unlucky. He hit the post. He needs his first Premier League goal. He needs to get that monkey off his back. But that man who just seems to always pop up in the right place at the right time, Juan Mata. And you say what you want about him. Say we're playing him out of position. You can say that he's not as good as he was at Chelsea, but he still gets us goals. He gets us goals from somewhere that's not the front of the pitch. And I think that's one of the things that pundits and fans and critics alike have all said, prior to the season, at the beginning of the season, United needed a number 9 because they weren't getting enough goals from elsewhere on the pitch. Well, now we're faced with the good reality of the fact that not only have we got a number 9 who seems to know where the goal is, we've also got players all over the pitch like Juan Mata, Wayne Rooney when he's on form, Memphis Depay when he eventually builds up head of steam, who will get us goals. And having those type of attacking threats that aren't necessarily our strikers is only good for the dynamic of the team.
Yeah, no, Juan's been excellent so far this season. I think he kind of, because we do stick him out right, I think defences have a tendency to forget about him because he's not playing in the middle of the park. He's not controlling the flow of play like he did so well at Chelsea. But he does come in off that wing very, very well, and he just happens to find himself in the right place at the right time. He doesn't always make the sweetest connection or find the back of the net when he's there, but he is there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only think of the goal he should have had against PSV on Tuesday. He was in the right, he just managed to pop up in the right place at the right time and just couldn't get the right contact on it.
Yeah.
It just seems to be a natural talent of him, and I just hope it keeps showing through and he can keep finding the back of the net.
I think it's a natural talent for all of the best footballers. I think that's the instinct, the goal-scoring instinct that really separates those attacking threats from, the also-rans when it comes to professional football. And going off what you were saying, the problem that we were having at the start of the season, obviously, was that we weren't finding the net. We were, huffing and puffing, but we weren't blowing any houses down, and that was the real problem. And having Juan Mata score that goal and to do something that we were neglectful, especially last season in games, Leicester away being one that I can think of, where we weren't scoring when we were on top, and that is something that you need to do, because as has been demonstrated by this game better than perhaps any other game I've watched in the Premier League this season, is that a goal, a random moment that causes a goal can completely change the complexity of the game. With it 1-0 to Southampton, and with it 0-0 before they scored, Southampton were in complete control. We lock the ball up, it breaks from Martial, he sticks a composed finish in there, and all of a sudden it's 1-1, United are coming back out, and we actually started to play, and we played better after we scored. And then in the second half, we benefited from a lax bit of defending, and Southampton just never built up any sort of steam in the second half because of that mistake. And it just goes to show that as long as we're clinical and we're scoring the chances that we get when we're on top, that Mata goal ended up being vital. If we won the game 3-2, sure, it was a 3-1 at the time, and I was thinking, hey, we're cruising now. But if that goal hadn't gone in, we're looking at a completely different game. Not only would we maybe not have won it, we might have lost it. I mean, and it's just, football is, above all else, a game of momentum, and that's something that we've really gotten better at, is running with the momentum of the game and being clinical when we have the opportunities. So, with all that being said, it's brilliant that we've managed to score 6 goals in our last 2 games. A really interesting stat popped up. It said in our first 4 games of the Premier League season, we only managed, 3 goals in our first 4 games.
Like that.
And one of them was an own goal, and one of them was from Yanazai, who went out on loan, and it was all this kind of stuff where we lacked goal scorers in our team, and we lacked goals on the pitch. Well, now we've scored 6 in 2, and we've had 6 shots on target in those 2 games. I think that we've figured out how to put the ball in the net when we have the opportunity. But with that being said, our defence, which was so solid and really was the foundation of our victory in both of those first 2 matches, has started to look a little bit shaky. Question marks have been raised. Daley Blind, I'm not going to say he played badly because he didn't, but he got bullied by Pell, and I don't think that's anything I don't think there's anything Daley Blind can do about that. Graziano Pell is 6'5" and built like a brick privy. I mean, he's not going to be able to touch him even if he wants to. I think he did win 1 header against him when he was looking in the other direction. But the number of times that the reason Pell scored 2 goals today was because of that. It was because of the fact that he was too much of a handful. And sure, we had a good enough day at the other end of the pitch clinically to win the game, but on a different day, we're losing this game because of things like that. And there were times, especially in the first half, when Southampton were really pushing us, they could have scored more because our defence was not acting as a unit, and I think that, you know, the simple reason for that being that Luke Shaw's injury has really disrupted things going on there. De Gea coming back in, obviously, De Gea being a very high-quality goalkeeper, it's still another adjustment to make. And, I mean, Luke Shaw's injury being long-term means that we can now have time to give this back four a settled look, but it tells you all you need to know when you think that Louis van Gaal's 3 substitutions were for a right-back, a centre-back, and then a central midfielder. So you think about it, two of our back four got substituted in this game.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
No, it's really not. I mean, I thought they had spells where they looked like they were going to be fine, and they'd sorted it out. You know, maybe a little bit slow to start, and then they would just, you know, revert back to not paying attention or just ball watching. And I think it's just something that's, again, going to come with time. I thought this defence was going to take a while to kick into gear anyway. I was surprised, very, very surprised, when at the start of the season our back four just all happened to fall in line with each other and start playing like they've been playing together for years. You know, I was thoroughly surprised by that. So now that they're actually kind of shaking a little bit, they're, you know, trying to find their footing again. This is how I kind of expected it to go, so I'm not really all that surprised. And I have no doubt that Louis is going to instill some confidence in the lads and, you know, get them back on track. It'll be fine.
And as Louis van Gaal says, it is a process, you know, and my Dutch accent's not brilliant, but it is a process, and it's one of those things where the pieces are coming together. And that ultimately, all season last year, you know, the media being the media, with every team, they will jump on every bandwagon. 2 weeks ago, Chelsea were in crisis. Now they've won 2 games in 2. They're fine again. You know, a couple before the season started, Arsenal were doing brilliantly. As soon as the transfer window shut, Wenger's got to go because he didn't sign a striker, and this is why this isn't working. You know, they jump on the back of everything. And with that being said, you know, they jumped on the back of Man United several times last season when we were having bad runs of form. But at no point was I ever seriously worried, because I could see the signs of improvement. I could see what Van Gaal was trying to do. And at no point has any Manchester United fan that I know of seriously said we need to get rid of Van Gaal or we need to change the way we're doing things. Because ultimately we sort of just trust in Louis. We sort of just say, you know what, you're a very experienced, very professional manager. He has that calm, you know, stoic demeanour that really it exudes authority, and it's something that allows us fans to be confident in our team when we know that a man like him is running the team. When David Moyes was running the team, the players weren't confident, which showed on the pitch. The fans had no confidence in him, which showed at the games and ultimately affected the players on the pitch. And it was a real cocktail of disasters that led to that season being so poor. But since Van Gaal's come in, he really has restored what we need at Manchester United, which is a solid, reliable figurehead, and Van Gaal, I completely trust him to continue doing his work. And ultimately, I think Louis van Gaal knows he's a placeholder manager. He's building the foundations, he's laying the groundwork for the future of Manchester United.
He's even said so himself on several occasions, that, you know, especially in regards to Martial. He said, I didn't buy Martial for me, I bought Martial for whoever succeeds me at this club.
He's doing alright for him though, isn't he?
Right, I say he's doing alright for him. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I trust Louis. For me, I think one of the main differences between him and Moyes was, you know, in front of the press and just in general, Moyes kind of, you know, surprising for, you know, the burly Scotsman that he is, came across as quite timid. You know, he kind of let the press bully him in the conferences. He was so susceptible to public opinion, whereas Louis just been like, I don't care. I don't care what you write about me. I don't care what you say about me. I know what I'm doing. My players trust in me, and I'm going to keep doing it. And if you don't like it, then stop asking me stupid questions.
Exactly.
And that, to me, reminds me of Ferguson, because Ferguson was always just straightforward and incredibly blunt with the media. And Van Gaal's like that too. So I think that's something that United fans kind of like, you know, hey, you know, we like this guy. You know, he tells it how it is. He's honest, he's blunt, and he's going to be upfront with you. And I think we as United fans, we've always appreciated that honesty, whether it's coming from the owner of the club, the executive of the club, the manager, the captain, a player, or a fan. You know, we respect honest banter. And that's what Louis got in spades.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with everything you just said. I mean, it's one of those things where we can see the process is working, we can see the progress, and with a team like Liverpool, I think that's the problem. That's the worry I would have if I was a Liverpool supporter, is that I'm not seeing a lot of progress. I mean, you finished second in the league 2 years ago, and where have you gone since then? I mean, I understand you lost players, you've had to rework your team, but you haven't bought well, you haven't, tactically you've been shuffling things, and you just sort of feel like Brendan Rodgers is still trying to work with what he's got. And I'm thinking, you're 4 years into the job, mate. You should be settled. You should know what you're doing.
Right.
And it's that sort of thing that Louis van Gaal brings us, that sort of confidence that we've got a plan. We know where we're going. And I mean, I assume the plan has and always will be, as far as I'm concerned, that Louis van Gaal he's gonna have his 3 seasons and then he's going to be off at the end of next year. And I would be completely happy with that, the way things are going right now. Obviously, 18 months is a long time, but if you think at the end of this season, I'm not going to, come out and jump on any sort of bandwagon that we're going to, gung-ho, go for the title and all this kind of stuff. But if we come out of this season qualified for the Champions League in the top 3, we win a cup competition or make a decent cup run, Van Gaal knows that he's got another season in the bag. He knows he's not getting sacked unless there's some complete disaster, and that sort of confidence translates to every aspect of the club. It seeps into every corner of Manchester United, and that's a great reason for why I think we're going to continue to do well this season. But just to sort of wrap things up, who's your man of the match this week?
I've got to give it to the Magic Man, Spanish Dave. I mean,
Dave, okay.
If he had a couple of, absolute blinding saves.
Hang on, can we just talk about that for a minute? Because there was one moment where
David De Gea made perhaps one of the best saves I've ever seen him make in his life, where the ball was behind him.
It was like something out of the Matrix.
The ball was behind him, like the ball had beaten him.
It was just something out of the Matrix. Like time just stopped and he just leant behind him and managed to palm it out of the net. I played goalkeeper for almost a decade and I still have no godly idea how he managed to keep that ball out of the net. And if he hadn't have done that save, the one that he then...
That was at 2-1.
Right, I want to say, and if he hadn't had that save, the save that he had later on from, was it Pell who made that driving run when
Probably.
it was 3-2? And he made another absolutely fantastic save. That would have been the save of the season had he not done that one 10 minutes earlier.
Right.
So it's the fact that I was listening to it on TalkSport, and the commentator, I think, rightly said, he said, we've just seen 2 of the best saves you're going to see, not just in England, but in any professional football league this season. And we've seen them within the span of 10 minutes from the same person.
He is absolutely world class. And the funny thing is that I can even see some goalkeepers, with reactions where they would know the ball's going there, they'd reach back and try and grab it, but maybe wouldn't get to it until it was already over the line. I mean, there was a lot of pace on the header. But his reactions were so quick. He wasn't even close to being over the line. His reactions were so fast. Like if you watched a slow motion video of that, you would think that he was moving in. He looked like he was moving in normal speed. Like everyone else is going in slow motion, and he just kind of goes. It was unbelievable. And the fact that neither one of us has picked Anthony Martial, because I sort of picked my pick based on the fact that I thought you were going to give it to Martial because he is the official man of the match for scoring the 2 goals. But I personally thought that Juan Mata was man of the match for the fact that he played, in my opinion, the pivotal role in the first goal with providing the assist, even though it was all down to Martial to take the finish. And then he obviously scored a goal for himself, a goal that ended up being the winner. And for me, I just thought, so sorry, Anthony, but we love you. And we do. And we really appreciate those goals to win the game, but we're going to give our man of the matches elsewhere. I think it's good that we have that kind of dilemma. We have multiple individual performances, but no, I'm all due respect to you to giving De Gea man of the match, because he single-handedly not only saved us from losing the game, he saved me from having a massive amount of egg on my face in the fantasy prediction league.
Right. I mean, as I said, I call him the Magic Man for a reason, because this guy pulls saves out of a hat like a magician. Where did that come from? How did you do that?
Anyway, so moving on from this game, we'll be back with a review of the first episode of Doctor Who when I've eventually watched it. Matt's already seen it, so... And then moving forward, we've got a rinky-dink game in the Carling Cup in midweek, and I know that's a bit of a disrespectful thing to say. Okay, I like Ipswich, all right. I want them to get promoted. Yeah, I want them to get promoted. They're from that friendly, Suffolk area. All that kind of, happy families type of stuff. And Mum's dad always, enjoyed watching Ipswich, so I have a soft spot for them. And they're a decent team managed by a decent manager. But going into the League Cup at home at Old Trafford, I mean, if we get knocked out, that's just embarrassing. Even Louis van Gaal, who obviously doesn't give a rat's arse about the League Cup, even he realises that he's got to win that game.
Honestly, if we go out of the League Cup to Ipswich, I wouldn't be surprised if you walk down Matt Busby way outside Old Trafford and you see Manchester United players crucified outside the stadium. Honestly, it would be evil.
Yeah, it's because it would be the second team anyway.
It will tear into them if we don't win this game.
No.
I mean, and rightly so. I mean, we should outclass them and wipe the floor with them, even if we put the second stringers in.
Yeah, and
we should still outclass them and wipe the floor with them, and that's entirely what I'm expecting.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Is I'm looking forward to seeing players like James Wilson, players like Sam Johnston. Just give them a few minutes. Give them a game, and sure, if it's going a bit pear-shaped, throw on some attacking force to kind of get us over the line. Make sure we don't lose the game. Don't play for youth. In spite of everything, but
I'd like
we
to
can do it. We could get it
I'd
done.
like to see Rooney up front.
I want to see Pereira. I definitely want to see Pereira.
Right, yeah, I'd like to see Pereira. I'd like to see Pereira in there and Lingard. I'd like to see Rooney maintain the captain's armband and lead the team out as the sole striker, because I think a game against a team like Ipswich, he can get himself a brace, maybe even a hat-trick if he's in the mood. And I think that would do him the world of good for his confidence. I mean, and people are going to turn around and be like, yeah, it's Ipswich. But Rooney's the type of guy where it doesn't matter where the goal comes from. Once he gets them, they're going to start coming from all.
That's what we said about Club Brugge, though. That is what we said after the Club Brugge hat-trick, just to be fair.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that
that's all we can do. That is all we can do.
Right, that's all we can do is hope. So, let's just, we'll wait, we'll see, and we'll pray.
Well, with that being said, thanks very much for joining me once again, and until next time.